Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's me, Brianna. Today's video is going to be my labor and delivery story about giving birth to my firstborn son, my first child, first time mom, everything. I'm going to be as honest as possible, and I'm going to try to give you guys as much details as possible, but also not drag out the story and make this video super long, you know. And if I look down, it's because I was writing notes while I was in labor and while everything was happening, so I didn't forget. But honestly, this is one thing that's like very clear in my brain still. So I want to start off with saying that I was 40 weeks pregnant at this point. My due date was 11/11, and I did give birth to my son on 11/15. Okay, so what happened was that I was already having my twice a week appointments. And I went on Tuesday, and I put that in my past video. I like spoke about the details, so you guys can check out that video. I'll leave the link above. But then I went again on November 13th, and basically I did an NST, which is a non-stress test, and it's to see if you are having contractions or not. And I was having contractions, but one, they weren't intense because they felt like just cramps to me, and two, they weren't close enough together, so it wasn't necessarily active labor. My body was just having cramps, like very small contractions. So the doctor basically said that I would have to get induced, and I did not want to get induced. Well, I preferred not to. But she was like, if I don't go into labor naturally, or if it doesn't progress like my contractions, then I would have to get induced. And the lady said they were gonna let me be pregnant. It was until November 23rd. So I left that appointment feeling like, one, I didn't have a choice. It was like this is what's gonna happen. And I'm the type of person that I don't like when somebody tells me this is your only option, you know, because there's obviously many options. Obviously I wasn't gonna risk my son's health or my health, but just because I was gonna go to 41 weeks, I don't feel like I had to be induced, you know what I'm saying? But you have until 42 weeks supposedly. Anyway, so I left that appointment, and then that night we went to my fiance's grandmother's house, and I was sitting down, like we were all talking. I was sitting down, I was like, oh my god, I feel like I just peed myself, but I knew I didn't pee myself, and I was like, damn, maybe I had to pee really bad, and I waited too long because I did have to pee as well. So then I go to the bathroom, whatever. But it was like a weird, it wasn't like, oh, I peed myself, because you, like, I don't know, I felt it coming from my vaginal hole, not my urethra. We're getting very technical here. Whatever. I felt like a little like something, but it wasn't crazy. Sorry, I have my dog out, but it wasn't crazy. So I go to the bathroom, and then literally like 2 minutes later I feel the same thing. I'm like, what the hell? So I go again, but this time I didn't pee, and I was like, in my head I'm like, oh my god, is this my water? But I thought your water was like gushing and like this thing that's like flowing out of you, you know, like you're literally running down your legs and stuff. And it wasn't that. We were leaving his grandma's house, and the same thing happening. I was like, no, I have to call the on-call doctor at the hospital because I think this might be my water. And if you guys did see my past video, or if you didn't, just so you guys know, I was, or I am, I don't know if it's still like a thing now, but GBS positive. So that's the group B streptococcus. I was positive for that. And basically, if you're positive for that, when your water breaks, you have to go to the hospital immediately because you have to be put on IV antibiotics, and just to prevent the baby from getting an infection. So I was stressed, okay guys. This GBS positive thing like really does not sit well with me, even though it's like something normal. It was just, or 25% of women, it's like normal. I just don't like when things are not smooth, you know, or like I don't know, I was just not happy. So that was like causing me stress, because I'm like, I don't want to put my son at risk if it was my water. But I thought once your water breaks, it like breaks, like you're trickling continuously, and that wasn't the case for me. I called when I got home, dry. I put a new panty liner on, and it was dry all the way to the like at night when I went to the bathroom, like at 4 a.m. But anyways, I called the doctor, and he basically was telling me that it's most likely discharge, because when your water breaks, apparently it doesn't stop like leaking. And then he was like, just keep an eye on it, but you don't have to come in. And I was like, okay, like the doctor must know what he's talking about. But then I went again at night to the bathroom, and my underwears, they were wet, but it wasn't like an extreme amount. And mind you guys, I mentioned it in that video as well, I was having a lot of vaginal discharge, but this was not discharge, okay? This wasn't like that normal discharge. This wasn't me peeing myself. Like the sensation was not coming from my urethra. Like, you know when you pee yourself. I was like, oh, like if it doesn't, I was like, it's probably discharge, whatever. And then I looked on Google, and it says the same thing, that it doesn't stop and that it's supposed to smell like semi-sweet or something. Honestly, did smell like nothing, like literally nothing. Didn't look like discharge. It was like so liquidy though, like water, that in my gut I was like, this has to be my water, like this has to be my water. What else is this coming, like what else is coming out of me, you know? So Saturday came in the morning, I was dry, like super dry, so I was like, fine, maybe my discharge changed. Then later that day, my fiance and I were walking our dog, Lexi. Mind you, I had no contractions, nothing new. The only stuff that I was having was my back was still hurting, I was cramping up. And Saturday I woke up, and in my gut I was like, today's the day I'm going to the hospital. I just know it. I feel weird, I feel off, but it wasn't like laboring or anything like that. I just had this gut feeling that I was going to the hospital. So we walked the dog. Then I'm getting into my fiance's truck. It's a pickup truck, so it has like the step stool. The minute I stepped on that, guys, the minute I stepped on it, I felt like the same thing, and I was like, no, that's it. I'm going to the hospital today. I'm calling them, and I'm gonna tell the doctor. In my head, I'm like, I have to go. So I'm telling my fiance, I think it's my water. It's not sitting right with me. I know I'm not peeing myself, and I know this is not discharge because it's so liquidy, you know. So, and you could feel like, this is like TMI, but I could feel the difference. Okay, so whatever. So we get home, and it's like 5 o'clock. So I call the on-call doctor. Now it's a different one because it's Saturday now. And I call, and I basically explain like everything, and I'm like, I'm GPS positive, and I'm kind of concerned like if it is my water, and it's very liquidy, but it keeps stopping and going. I think it might have broke, my water might have broke on Friday the 13th. And I called, and the doctor said like, oh, don't come in. This doctor though was like, come in, we'll get a test to see if it's amniotic fluid, and if it is, then you're going to be admitted, and if it's not, then you can go back home. And if you go into labor, you go into labor. And if your water breaks, then you'll just have to come back immediately. But if not, then you can labor at home. And I was like, fine. Guys, I was in denial, okay? That's one. All our bags were packed. Everything was ready to go. I go and tell my family. Yeah. So then I go and tell my family, like, oh, I have to go to the hospital. This is when it was settling in, and I got so anxious. I don't like unknowns, okay? That's one thing about me. I don't like the unknown. I like everything to be like, I know this and that is gonna happen. And there's so many possibilities when you go into giving birth, like when you go to give birth or when you go to the hospital, that, yeah. Also, I've never been a patient, so that's another thing that was like giving me anxiety. I hate needles. Another thing, like, you know, there was just so many things that were getting me like super anxious. Tell them. They're in shock. They're like, oh my god. And me and my sister planned that I would take a photo like the last day that I'm pregnant. I would take a photo before I go to the hospital if she was home. She was home, but I just couldn't. Like, I was so anxious. I was like, I have to go. Like, we have to go find out right now, but I'll probably be back home, blah blah blah. Little did I know. Little did I know. So my fiance got the same thing. He was like, oh, it's your water didn't break. Once your water, doesn't it like flow out, like gush out of you, blah blah. And I was like, possibly, but like, I know I'm not peeing myself, and I know this is not discharged, so what else could it be? The water, right? Like, we're on our way there, and then we're talking about like, oh, when we leave the hospital, like after they check me, we're gonna get food because we didn't have dinner. We only ate like in the afternoon, you know. So we get to the hospital. The nurse was so nice. My first line should have been that the lady at the front, and she was like, oh, good luck if you end up giving birth, but if you don't, I'll see you when you guys come back down, right? When we like check, like went through the main entrance of the hospital. We go up to the triage part of the labor and delivery unit. First of all, such a surreal moment. It felt so like weird that I was like that this baby, like, I don't know, guys, like I was in shock, okay? So it felt so weird to be going to the hospital. Like this whole thing just felt really weird. Obviously I never did it before, so it's new to me, and I was honestly in shock the whole time. Like that's the best way I can explain it, I guess. So the nurse comes and she's like, I'm gonna test you to see if it's your amniotic fluid, and then I'm also gonna put the NST. Basically they were gonna do the NST on him again, and I was like, okay, because I had the NST, so I felt comfortable with that. And tell me why. So she's really nice. So she comes and she's, oh, we also got COVID swabbed as well. That was fine. She did it like gentle. She went all the way up to my brain, but it was gentle. I'm being sarcastic, it's not to your brain. And then basically she just swabbed like my vagina to see if it was amniotic fluid. She was like, cough. So I was like, coughing, whatever. So she got it. And she's like, okay, in 5 minutes we'll know if it's amniotic, if it's your amniotic fluid, and if it is, you're gonna be admitted. And I was just like I honestly, I thought it was gonna take like an hour or something, you know? So whatever, she swabbed me, she's like, yep, it's your amniotic fluid, you're gonna be admitted. She goes, call the doctor, because I'm GPS positive, so it's like I have to be put on antibiotics. It's kind of like you have to do it quick. So then she goes, she tells the doctor, and then the doctor basically told her, okay, start her on penicillin, because that's the antibiotics you go on if you're not allergic to it, and induce her. And I was like, what? Wait. I was never told if my water breaks I have to get induced. So I told the nurse I did not want to be induced. So the doctor comes and she's like, sweetheart, basically telling me, listen, your water may have broke most likely yesterday, so you're gonna need to be induced because your son could be at increased risk of infection. And I was like, okay, like fine. So I had my preferences, but I didn't have a birth plan. So my preference was not to be induced, but I ended up getting induced. And they induced me, so we got to the hospital at 6 p.m. They induced me at 9 p.m. So I guess it wasn't that immediate that they induced me, but the penicillin was started before they induced me, and then they induced me I think an hour later. So I got induced at 9 p.m. First of all, when she told my boyfriend and I that was my amniotic fluid, I already knew, like, holy shit, I'm gonna give birth. So I just looked at him and I was like, mind you guys, I'm 40 days and 3 days, 40 weeks and 3 days pregnant at this point. Why am I shocked that I'm about to give birth? I don't know, but I was. It's not like I'm 30 weeks, you know? So that happened, I got induced, and the Pitocin didn't really do anything until like 12. And then I started feeling I had my period, like, honestly. But it was like active contractions, and there were strong contractions, but they felt like my period. And I was like, I can handle this. If this is what it's gonna feel like, I got this. And she was amping it up every 30 minutes, you know, from 9 o'clock. Oh yeah, so it felt like cramps, and it was all in the abdominal area, my uterus, whatever. We were all good, that was fine. But then everything took a turn. It got a little intense, guys, and they put me, okay, so I was in the triage room this whole time, and then they moved me to the labor and delivery room, and that room was beautiful. Like, this maternity ward was so nice. Lexi, I'm filming. So then I get in that room, and I'm literally not joking, for 20 minutes I'm pretty sure I blacked out. All of a sudden I had the most intense rectal pressure. Okay, nobody ever talks about this, and I don't know if anybody else experienced if this was necessarily like back labor or what the hell this was, but when I tell you, I felt intensely constipated. I felt sharp pains in my rectum, and I thought it was gonna fall out. Like, I'm not joking, I thought my rectum was gonna fall out. Turns out my son was sunny side up, or sunny side, whatever that means. So it creates rectal pressure. I don't know, but you guys, that is like the worst pain ever. And I'm a constipated girl, okay? I have a history of, this is TMI, I have a history of that. But this was like something else. Like, it was on a whole other level. I was like, this is not labor pains, because how it went from being in the front to being rectal. And every time I would tell them, they were like, oh, maybe it's a bowel movement. I was like, I don't know what I have to do but I feel like my rectum was gonna fall out, and I was literally crying because I literally felt like my rectum was gonna fall out. Like, I can't emphasize that enough. Like, can you guys comment down below if you guys felt that like during your labor, because was that normal or what? But at that moment I was like, my son has a big head. Like, he has to have a big head. It has to be his head, because it just changed. Like, 1 minute everything was good, and then I'm pretty sure he was going lower and lower and lower. That was just not right. It was not it. No. Another thing, I wanted to try to see as long as I could wait to not get the epidural, right? So I'm here thinking I'm gonna have to push, because this feels like this head is like, everybody's always like, it feels like he has to take a poop. So I'm like, bet, I feel like it's ready. The baby's ready to come out right now. Like, I have to be 10 centimeters. Like, because, and then the way that the doctor and the nurse were talking to me throughout this whole, like, what was it at that point? I got induced at 9, and it was like 1 in the morning, I think. That whole thing, it was like, you're gonna give labor anytime, any day, like any second type of thing. She checks me and she goes, oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, when I got to the hospital, I was 3 centimeters dilated, and I was 80% effaced, I think. She didn't check me until 1 in the morning because she didn't want to increase infection for me. So she checked me. I'm here like, ooh, yes, I'm gonna be 10 centimeters. Mind you, I'm crying, okay? This is like in my 20-minute blackout. She checks me. I'm having a contraction. Every time I had the contraction, it felt like my rectum was gonna fall out, okay? So she checked me and she's like, oh, you're 4 centimeters dilated, 100% effaced. Do you understand the disappointment that I felt in that moment? I was like, what? Are you serious right now? Really? I was like, this is so bad. Like, I was crying. I was like, this is so bad. I feel like I'm gonna poop myself. I feel like my rectum is falling out. Blah, blah, blah. And then another thing they kept pushing for as well is the epidural. From the minute they induced me, they kept mentioning epidural, epidural, epidural. So then I think the nurse had left, and then 15 minutes later, the pain got like super duper intense. Like, after she checked me, like before, after, during, whatever, that whole period of time. So I was telling my fiance, like, I'm in so much pain, like, you could just tell. And I was like running to the bathroom, like, I had to use the bathroom, but I didn't. It was his head the whole time, because that's just where the contractions were, because of his head. By the way, guys, I have a 0 pain tolerance. So I was telling my fiance prior, I was telling him, like, oh, the little bit, he knows, like, the little bit of discomfort that I have, I'll take ibuprofen, the 1,000 milligrams, okay, or 800 milligrams for my period, like that type of discomfort. So I don't know what I was trying to do with not taking epidural, or like waiting to see how long. I don't even know why, like, I thought that was a good idea, but I ended up asking for the epidural. Kind of felt like crappy, because I was just like, damn, I couldn't even last like more than the 4 centimeters, whatever. But honestly, the way that I felt like my rectum was gonna fall out is just not okay. That pain was worse than, I'm pretty sure, if I had front labor pains, because I really thought I was gonna die. Like, I'm not joking. I told them, like, I think I'm gonna die. Call me dramatic, whatever, but that pain was just like so bad, like so excruciating, so uncomfortable. Anyways, so then it was like 1:43. I got my epidural. Guys, I'm scared of needles, like really bad, like really bad. Like, they had to do my IV when I first got there. I forgot to mention, I had like a little panic attack within myself, and they had to try twice, okay? But the epidural, I just know that needle is big, right? I know the side effects of it. Mind you, they don't even tell you the side effects when they're about to give it to you. But anyways, I knew the side effects, and I was freaking out. It's a sterile procedure. It made me freak out even more. Then my fiance couldn't be in the room. He had to be behind the curtain. Made me freak out even more. I felt the anesthesiologist was amazing though, like great. My nurse was still the same nurse from the beginning, so great, right? He's like, okay, I'm gonna clean the area. He put on like the sterile sheet on my back. I could feel that, feel him cleaning, checking. You guys, okay, and I was having contractions still during that time. I couldn't even sit right. I was like lopsided sitting because there was like just sharp pains everywhere. Anyways, so then he's like, okay, don't move, you know, the whole thing, like don't move. I had to be hunched over but not tense, but my shoulders had to be slouched. Guys, I'm having contractions. How can I not be tense, right? I'm in pain. So I told the nurse, I was like, I'm sorry, but I need to squeeze you to like focus the pain somewhere else, because if not, can my fiance come? Because I cannot, like I can't function right now, like I'm not okay. And I was like crying, I was freaking out. Then in my head, I'm a nurse, so I'm like, oh my god, why am I this type of patient right now? I was still like super polite, I wasn't screaming at anybody, but so he cleans it, he puts the Novocaine. You guys, automatically I could feel it like tap into my back, and I like jumped, and I don't know why, but I was just like, oh my god, like am I paralyzed now? Like I'm not supposed to move and I just moved, blah 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 blah. And the nurse was like, you're not paralyzed, it's okay, like you can still feel your feet, right? And I'm like, yeah. And then the anesthesiologist was like, this is Novocaine, it didn't even go all the way in your the space of your spine that could make whatever. He was like, it didn't go there yet, so you're fine. And I was like, okay. And he was like, okay, now you're numb and you're gonna feel lots of pressure. It felt like something was wiggling through my back. It was like really weird and like uncomfortable, but honestly it was fine. And then immediately he like did an IV push of the medicine, and only my left side was getting numb. And I was like, oh my god, my left side's only getting numb, not the right side, so does that mean it's not gonna work? He was like, give it a few seconds. And then the left side went numb, but I was still able to feel my legs. I was able to like put my legs in the bed, move my legs. Like my legs were in like, they just felt dead, but like I could feel them, if that made sense. He did like a really good job. So I was like at 1:43, everything was done with the epidural. Then I was laying down sleeping. I woke up out of my sleep at 3:30 a.m. I'm pretty sure I wrote down. At 3:30 a.m. they topped off the epidural because I woke up crying. Like literally it felt like I had no epidural again. And at this point my contractions were already out of 10, because like on the charts they were like spiking, right? I was like, I need him to come back and top off this epidural, because I was pressing that button like 20 times and nothing happened. I know they set a limit, so no matter how much you tap, like you click it, you overdo it, like it won't even give you more. And I was like, no, he needs to come. So he comes back, the same anesthesiologist, and he tops it off. And literally after 5 minutes I knocked out, like I was out like a light. Then I woke up again at 6 in the morning and I was like, I gotta use the bathroom, I got to poop. It was still like pain, but it was like, it felt like I had to have a bowel movement. And a lot of people say that's like a sign like you're ready to push, but the whole time I felt like that, like intense. So they weren't taking it as a sign that I had to like push to give birth to my son, you know? They were like, okay. So then she's like, oh, you're just gonna have to like kind of go on yourself. Oh, I forgot to mention, I had they put a Foley in at 3:30 as well, and it was like a weird sensation, but I was kind of numb there, so it was like okay, you know, like it wasn't bad. And like so much urine came out, I didn't even feel like I had to pee or anything because of the epidural. But so she was like, you're just gonna have to go on yourself, and I was like, coming in, what? Mind you guys, I am continent, I'm 24 years old, I'm not about to shit myself, okay? I cannot shit on myself. So I was like, you don't have a bedpan or something? Like, I need to walk to the bathroom, but when you have epidural, you cannot walk. You're like bedridden. So she was like, no. I was like, okay, I need a bedpan then. I'm not about to just literally shit myself. Well, poop myself. Let me not curse. They gave me the bedpan, and I was on that for like 20 minutes. But my dignity, my soul, I could not do that. If you hear some noises, my son is next to me. It was 6:30. Was it 6:30? I was on FaceTime with my sister, by the way, telling her all this. Oh no, it was at 6:30. That's when I had to have the bowel movement. They gave me the bedpan, whatever. So that took like 45 minutes, the whole process. Didn't do anything. I couldn't. I was crying because I felt like, I don't know. I was like literally just so emotional. I just couldn't poop like that. Like, it just didn't feel right. Didn't want to do it, whatever. So I chose to take it off. And I was just laying there and I was like, well, hope I don't shit. Then I was like, if I do have to poop and I'm pushing, I hope I don't poop on my kid. Okay, like, and then the lady's like, don't even worry about that, that's nothing to worry about, it's natural. And I'm just like, I don't care if it's natural. I really just hope that I don't do that, because I would feel like so mortified for my dignity, for my child. Like, anyways, so then it was at 7:35. I wrote it down. The doctor checked me. This is the doctor that when I was admitted, she admitted me, right? She checked me and she told me that I was 10 centimeters dilated and 100% phase. At this point, my fiance just woke up, okay? That whole time period from when after I got the epidural to then, he was sleeping. But then when the doctor came in, he woke up. She said that I got nauseous. I said I was about to vomit. He went to the bathroom, threw up, because, guys, we were shocked, okay? We're first-time parents, shocked. Still, I'm 40 days and 40 weeks and 4 days pregnant, but still, like, it's still like a very shocking thing, and for me to wrap my head around. And I was like, oh my god, like, the baby's literally gonna come out. Tell me why. The minute the nurse, the doctor says that, the nurse is like, okay, I'm gonna shut off your epidural so you can push. I thought the epidural stays until after you give birth. Bless you, baby. After you give birth, but that's not how they did it. She was like, no, I have to turn it off because so you know when to push, when you know, so you know when you have a contraction. And I was like, great, now I'm gonna feel this rectal pressure again, that I feel like I have to poop, and now I'm gonna feel like an intensified version of this. So then she shuts it off, and no joke, like 5 minutes later, I was feeling the same sensation again. And I was like, I have to push. Like, so she's teaching me how to push. And mind you guys, this lady, she's kind of strict. This nurse, she was kind of strict. And at first, she just rubbed me the wrong way. But in the end, she ended up being, like, so good. She kept me, well, she tried to keep me focused. And I just needed that structure. It was 7:35, okay, so then by the time that's done, I don't know, it was like 7:45, they shut it off, and I had the urge. And then I was telling the doctor, oh, I just felt like I had to use the bathroom, and she's like, that's his head. I could already feel his head, and he has a lot of hair. What? Then she got real. Then the nurse said, okay, hold her leg. She's holding my other leg, and I'm pushing. Honestly, guys, if you struggle with constipation, ladies, it's just, and you know, and if like if you truly do struggle with it, it's the same concept when you're pushing your kid out. If you are a real constipated person, like, oh my god, I'm talking so much about bowels, but it honestly, for me, it was like almost the same. Anyways, you just bear it down, and you just bear the pressure down there. So they told me, since I'm a first-time mom, never gave birth before, that it could take from 2 to 4 hours. I was like, excuse me, come again? I had no epidural, okay? I was like, oh hell no, in my head. I told myself, you're not taking no 4 hours to push this baby out, you're gonna push him out in an hour. And guess what? I did that. Actually, it was like a little less than an hour, but I pushed, I think, 4 times. Like, it wasn't that much, but I was like pushing, and then it got to a point where I was just like, it's too much pain, you're gonna have to tell me 1 hour contraction, because I can't even focus right now, and just tell me to push and whatever. And I was like, I just want him out right now, like that. But like when I was pushing, I was like silent, but then I was just like, I want him out. The doctor didn't even expect me to push him out that quick, so she's running in, putting her stuff. So it was another doctor to deliver him. She was running in, putting on all her PPE, her protective wear. She's like, wait, I have to put on my other mask. And I was like, I cannot wait. I cannot wait. Like, no. So I was pushing, and the funny thing is that they try to make me push with a mask on. I ripped it off. I couldn't. I was getting claustrophobic. I was almost threw up from having the mask on, so I couldn't breathe. Anyway, so yeah, so the doctor was like rushing whatever, and she was like, oh my god, I see his head. And then my fiance was able to see his head, and they were like, he has a lot of hair. Guys, I was truly focused on just getting him out, because that discomfort, that was my motivation. I was like, I don't want to feel this no more. I just want to meet my baby. Yeah, so overall my whole labor was about 11 hours, I think. No, they induced me at 9. So yeah, technically it was almost 12 hours, but it was 11 hours. But active labor, I didn't start feeling it till 12, so, or like 11ish. So it was more like 9 or so. So it was pretty fast labor for a first time mom, according to them. And I pushed him out in an hour, like a little under an hour. He came out. When I tell you, when his head came out, that was relief. Then the shoulders, but like the rest of the body, whoop. I was like, oh my god, I was so proud of myself, in shock. Like, there's pictures of me and I'm like in shock. And when I'm the type of person, when something like huge happens in my life, I don't really cry. I'm just like, I'm just so shook that my body doesn't know how to process it. And that's exactly what happened when I gave birth to my son. I was so happy though. Like, he cried immediately. Like, the minute his head popped out, he cried. So like, that wasn't even like a question that I had to ask. And I was just looking at my fiance like, oh my god, we did it. So proud of me. And they were so proud of me. They were like, oh my god, you did it in an hour, blah blah blah. And I was just like, I was not about to be pushing for 4 hours. Like, no. My son was born at 8:36 in the morning. His name is Braden Angelo, and yeah, he was born at 8:36 a.m. He was 20 inches and 8 pounds 7 ounces. For everybody who told me my stomach was small, he was large in there. No, but he was like pretty big. Like, he was my whole stomach basically. And then I had to deliver the placenta. Actually, the doctor pretty much just pressed on my stomach, and the placenta like kind of flopped out. My placenta was huge, okay? And they said that it was so healthy. His umbilical cord was so thick, and they said that was like so good, that everything I was eating and blah 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 was like so good, blah blah. They were like that it was like super healthy. But one sad thing, well, not sad, but one thing that I was disappointed about was that I wasn't able to do the placenta encapsulation because I was GBS positive. So they said that it could potentially make me septic, which is a blood infection. Okay. Which is a blood infection. So I decided that I don't want to risk it, because it wouldn't just affect me, but it would also affect my baby, because I was planning on breastfeeding, which I am doing now. So, you know, just, I didn't want to risk it. And I looked up like evidence-based research while I was in labor about it, and it did like confirm that as well. So I hope this story made sense. I filmed this video like in 4 different parts because my son has been a little fussy because he has gas. And then I had to let my dog out, and then my dog is barking and whatever. But I hope you guys enjoy this video. And honestly, I won't say that you forget the pain, but the pain is 100% worth it once your kid is born. Like, I wouldn't say I forgot the pain. I did not forget it. But my child is 100% worth it. I would 100% do it over again. I honestly don't think that my labor and delivery was like bad at all. It was like actually super positive. Everybody was super nice to me and my fiance, helpful, and I was truly like in agony, like that type of pain, for about like 30 minutes until I got the epidural. So it wasn't bad, and I think my body progressed really well. And honestly, I think I did not work out at all this pregnancy, but I think it was because I worked till I couldn't anymore. I literally worked till I was 40 weeks and like, no, I was almost 40 weeks. So I was like 39 weeks and 6 days. So I think it was because of that, because I kept working so much. And then my doctors were just like, okay, like enough. And I was like extremely exhausted and fatigued and stuff. But I think that really helped. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Okay, baby. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope this video made sense. Leave down your labor and delivery story. I would love to hear it as well. Or if you guys had rectal pressure, because I was under the impression that you have uterine pressure and contractions that you feel in your uterus and vaginal pressure and excruciating pain there. But no, my vaginal area was fine. It was all rectal. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this video. Have a great day wherever you are, and happy December. And I hope this month is an amazing month for you, and this year ends on a good note for you. Because honestly, this year for me, personal life was great. Outside life, oh my god. But yeah, I got my baby out of this year, so it was definitely good. Oh, he's going back to sleep. Okay, gotta go. Bye.